Jumpin In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Caine.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. Oh, yes. Is it Christmas yet, Mum? No, it's not quite, but we're heading that direction rather faster than I would like. In the meantime, fear not. The good news is, it is Friday night, it is 9 o'clock, it is Jumpin' In, the best in modern and contemporary jazz. With myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, welcome along to this week's show. And it's nearly the summer holidays. Exams are all done for now and the school year is ending. And that summer feeling takes hold whatever the weather. So are you going anywhere hot, swinging or cool? Well, you are for the next hour or so anyway. So H, holiday favourites and travel essentials or new tracks and backpacks. What will you be making sure that you haven't left behind, inevitably on the kitchen side next to your sunglasses and book?
Well, you can take so many with you these days digitally, can't you? Anyway, all sorts of stuff I've been listening to of late. Some I know, some I don't know. I didn't know Simone Zanchini. Don't try this anywhere. Michael Brecker on the accordion. Yeah, I'll say no more for the time being. Mike Westbrook, another Mike. I really enjoyed hearing Metropolis when people were playing some of his music after he passed away recently. And one I just dug out the other day and I thought, oh, I've forgotten how much I enjoyed that. Knee Body with Anti-Hero, cracking album from a few years back.
And with me, we go with the flow, we shell out, we're in time for a blubber. And to get things underway, we join Washington, D.C.-based Javier Nero and his jazz orchestra in the Garden of Eden with the title track of their latest release, Al-Kebulan. way to get going, the Javier Nero Jazz Orchestra with Alkebulan. And if you were wondering, it's one of the oldest indigenous African words for the continent, referring to the mother of mankind or the Garden of Eden, and follows the band's 2023 release, Kemet, in both referencing Javier's African heritage. Composer, arranger, trombonist and band leader, Javier has been a long-time member of the US Army's Jazz Blues Army Ensemble and holds a master's in jazz composition, and indeed the ensemble writing really stands out on this great big band album. Along with the guest soloists we heard on this track, Wallen Wolf on vibes, Sean Jones on the trumpet, and drummer and percussionist Kyle Swan and Murph Ocamp, respectively. Alkebulan came out in March and is definitely worth a listen.
Certainly is, and I'm staying with a big band vibe, but going back a little bit further, quite a bit further to be honest with you, 1969-1971, when Mike Westbrook composed his Metropolis Suite, a piece of 9 pieces all linked together, performed in various different formats. It was composed, like I said, 68, 69. The version we're going to hear was recorded at Lansdowne Studios in 1971, and as I say, played in various forms by bands ranging from just 4 musicians up to 25 musicians. The version we're going to hear for big band was written with the assistance of the Arts Council Bursary and first presented in 1969, though with this version from 1971. Mike himself, of course, passed away just a couple of months back in April of this year, and well, it was a who's who of jazz players back in the day who were actually performing on this. I'll just mention a few before we hear some of it. Mike himself on piano, Nigel Carter, Kenny Wheeler on trumpet and flugelhorn, Harry Beckett on trumpet, Henry Lowther there, Dave Holdsworth, Malcolm Griffiths, Jeff Perkins on bass trombone, Mike Osborne on alto sax. I'll rattle off a few more after we hear part 9, a slow and hypnotic section of Metropolis. Harry Beckett, I think, finishing off that rather hypnotic track, track 9, I think it is. They're all just called Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. No names given to any of them, and I think that is Part 9, the Part 7. It's rather difficult because some of them actually run into other tracks. Other artists featured include Mike Osborne on alto, Ray Worley, Alan Skidmore on tenor, John Warren, John Taylor, I think you heard him tinkling a bit on electric piano there, Gary Boyle is on guitar, Harry Miller on bass and cello, Chris Lawrence, still going I think, Chris Lawrence on bass, one of the few out of this list, Alan Jackson playing drums on some, though not a huge amount there, John Marshall on some other tracks, playing really rocky drums. It's really free. It varies tremendously. That's long, hypnotic. Other tracks are really punchy and free and very rocky indeed. Norma Winston contributing vocals at probably just coming into her peak as a young woman on the jazz scene in the 1970s. As well, so many of them, I suppose, all young Turks they definitely were at the time, and thoroughly enjoyable when I listened to that. Curiously, when you actually look at it, the beginning, you'd swear there's some sort of tape slippage, although it claims it's remastered from the original master tapes and faithfully restored. You would have thought if there was any original slippage there, that would have been easily corrected either digitally or otherwise. So one can only assume that slight sort of slipping sound in the piano, particularly towards the beginning of the track, is deliberate, but no mention of it in the notes, although Pete Vasher says he was in many ways sort of similar to a Duke Ellington of the 20th or later 20th century. He said to British to boot, he had lots in common, and I felt he merited comparison. And sadly no longer with us, but plenty of good music to check out from Mike Westbrook.
Could be a case of don't let the studio cat sit too near to the reel-to-reel.
You never know.
Now, a new release from Hammond player and pianist Sam Yahel, a regular on the New York scene since the 90s, and for many years a fixture in Small's Jazz Club, along with the early days with Brad Meldo and Carl Rosenwinkel. And I remember playing his Ya-Ya 3 almost non-stop when it came out. That was a trio group he had with Joshua Redman and Brian Blade. And indeed, Brian Blade joins him again for this new trio recording, along with bassist Larry Grenadier. As you might expect, the results don't disappoint. From Quiet Flow, here's a Yahel original, When It Comes Around. when it comes around, from pianist and organist Sam Yahel's newest release, Quiet Flow. And with a title like that, you might not expect fireworks, and indeed, what you get instead is an ever-changing pastel soundscape like the oral equivalent of the Northern Lights. A quiet flow indeed. Not explosive, but spectacular nonetheless. The album's made up of 8 original compositions and 2 standards, and with a trio made up of leaders, it's not a battle for the top slot, but more of a perfect balance. Not car music, as we say from time to time, but with a good book and a glass of something, just the thing.
Just the thing indeed. You are listening to Jumpin In, which is just the thing. Chris and myself, H, and this is Kneebody. Great ending for The Fallen. Knee Body from their 2015 album Anti-Hero. Cracking album, I've really enjoyed that. We did get to see, I don't think it was actually Knee Body itself, but it was certainly Ben Wendell and some of the others at Brussels
it was
Jazz.
Knee Body.
It was Knee Body, was it? Yeah, at Brussels Jazz Fest a few years back now. Typically, I think that's my favourite track on that album, and they were just pretty much getting towards the end of it when we got to the gig in a sort of curious club arena that they were playing in, just 5-10 minutes walk outside the Grand Place in Brussels. Knee Body, who they? Well, of course, Ben Wendell. We did a brief chat with him on tenor, saxophone and effects. Shane Ensley, who composed that track, trumpet and effects as well. Adam Benjamin, Rhodes and piano synths. On this particular album, at least, Kava Rastegar played electric bass and guitar, and Nate Wood on drums, although when you see them live, and certainly there's plenty on YouTube, and when we saw them in the club, Nate Wood was doing both, unbelievably, playing the bass and playing the drum part at the same time. You would not think it was possible until you actually see him do it. But there you go. It is possible. Just goes to prove if you're ambidextrous enough. I haven't actually seen them featured much of late, though. I know they've certainly had albums out since then. But, none necessarily have bettered that one in my book.
Ben Wendell, constantly busy. He's really a go-to sax player.
Super busy, man.
And, it was at Ancien Belgique, which downstairs has a huge venue, and it has this small club room upstairs, standing room only, and we were quite near the back, and I think I nudged you in the ribs and said, have you checked the lineup? Because I thought somebody was missing, and then I saw that the drummer was playing the bass at the same time.
Weird.
Incredible. Next up from me, a rising star on the French jazz and crossover music scene, trombonist and modular synthesist Robinson Khoury and his trio. The album is Transara, and this is Coquillage. Coquillage, the opening track from Transara, the new release on the Act label from composer, synthesist and trombonist Robinson Currie and his trio. Firstly, the title Transara is a neologism of Curie's to denote a transition between spaces, worlds and spaces. He says he likes, given the state of the world at the moment, you can't help but be pensive and melancholic. I really like the unusual, strange combinations, unexpected lineups. Trombone, modular synths, keyboards and percussion. I've never heard anything like it, and that's exactly what fascinating me. And there are other important affinities within the group. I think that part of the reason we work so well together is because we share a Mediterranean heritage through our families. The Mediterranean contacts us. Well, I think you can certainly hear Mediterranean references in the music, but regards the unusual information, their music puts me in mind of the much-missed Odorang or perhaps Daniel Herskadel, but it's none the worse for that. The trio is Anissa Nehari on percussion and voice, Leo Jasev on piano and synth, and Robinson Currie on trombone, modular synth and vocals.
Definitely a touch of the Herskadels. Yeah, I'd agree with that. It did sound vaguely familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. That is it, yeah. Daniel Herskadel and some of his albums like Harbour or one of those very sort of Nordic ones with those pictures of pastoral Nordic scenes. Very resting. We heard, I think on the last Jumpin In, we heard a little bit of John Coltrane as interpreted via the accordion. This week, what about Michael Brecker? Interpreted via the accordion. Simone Zanchini, new name for me, but he's lined up with some cracking names. John Patitucci, Stefano Bedetti, Adam Nussbaum at the drums. And he said, why a tribute to Michael Brecker with an accordion? Well, two main reasons, he says. First, I love contemporary refined jazz, and I consider Brecker one of its greatest exponents. And then, because at least to my knowledge, no accordionist has ever done a tribute to Michael Brecker. So he's done one. Just hear the breath coming out. Dave Douglas from his album Alloy, released in 2025. Patricia Brennan on vibes. David Adewumi on trumpet. Alexandra Ridout, great player as well on trumpet. Katie Pass on bass. Rudy Royston at the drums. And before that, Simone Zanchini with his tribute to Mike Brecker on the accordion, a hand-built special accordion for him, and he's got Randy Brecker to write some of the notes saying, my brother Mike loved originality and would have loved this CD. Great musicians, they all know how to listen. Pretty wild shit too. I really enjoyed it.
We all enjoy a pretty wild one from time to time, and the much-missed Michael Brecker indeed. Well, that just about wraps it up with this week's show, but we've just got time for one of the emerging bands on the Swedish jazz scene. People in orbit: Adam Sass on trumpet, Eivind Ekman tenor sax and FX, Nicholas Bergstrom on piano, Eivind Elmerson on double bass, Frank Rice at the drums. Following on from their acclaimed debut Close Away, we'll hear a track from their latest release Viewpoint. Here's the quirkily named Synchronised Whale Stuff.
Loving it. Whale meat.
See you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
You be good. Bye-bye.